Welcome back to Slips.N.Tips, guys. Chris here. Just wanted to start off by saying thank you guys so much for your support on my first video. So excited to be back here for video number 2. I've got 3 games I want to talk to you guys about in this video, focusing on the Friday night game, the Dragons and the Warriors, and the 2 Super Saturday games. So let me know your thoughts. Let's get straight into it. I want this video to be a bit quicker than last week, and I got all your feedback and all your comments, guys, and it really means a lot. So thank you guys once again. Really appreciate it. And if you're new here, subscribe. So let's get into it, guys. I just want to quickly talk about the plan moving forward just before I get into the tips. I really want to post videos every Wednesday or Thursday for the NRL before the Thursday night, Friday night, and some of the Saturday games. So the plan is to post weekly all the way up until the end of the NRL season. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, because if you do like my NRL tips, YouTube's going to get them first. For this week, like I said, I'm covering the Dragons, Penrith and Storm game in this video. So let me know your thoughts, whether it's in the DMs or in the comments below. I won't be looking at the Eels game in this video, but I will have a tip for it. For every NRL game, I'm going to have a tip posted on my Instagram or TikTok group. So be sure to follow me on all my socials, because I post tips for all NRL games and I try to post tips for all AFL games as well. Before we get fully into it, guys, I just want to start off by saying please remember to gamble responsibly. This is not financial advice in what I'm doing, including myself. No one knows 100% of what's going to happen. It's not possible for anyone to have a lock or a guarantee. At the end of the day, it's always about risk in sports betting. So it's really important. It's all about having fun. Please control your units. And if you feel like you're losing control, just know that there's a lot of free support out there that can help. So reach out, look online and see if you need any help if you feel like you're losing control. But it's all for fun at the end of the day, guys. Now, let's get into game 1. So we've got the Dragons versus the Warriors at WIN Stadium. It's projected to be 11 degrees. It should be dry, which is great. There shouldn't be any rain. We're not expecting any of that. I'm looking at the write-up here, and basically the first thing that came to my mind was Ben Hunt. What's going to happen with his situation? What's going to happen for this club? Where's the players' minds at? Where's the morale at? I think everyone's affected. You know, their best player, their captain, has publicly announced that he wants out of this club. So that was the first thing I thought of for this game. The second thing I thought of, was going to be around Dragons being underdogs. They're home underdogs in this matchup, which is interesting. I thought of the Warriors game against the Raiders in the second half specifically, but I also considered the fact that the Dragons won their game against the Rabbitohs. Yes, it was 6 points, and yes, the last 3 minutes was very shaky. However, they're both coming off wins, and they're both coming off byes into this game. I also wanted to talk to you about, before I get into the tips, both teams are looking fully healthy here. Neither team is missing major starters. Both rosters are looking fully healthy, so it's going to be a good game in that regard. I think Ben Hunt should play. As what I'm reading now, he's expected to play, which is great. So hopefully he actually plays on the day, but don't be surprised with the last-minute pull-out. We'll see what happens. Before I get into the tips, I just want to put some stats on the screen. So check out these stats, guys. These are my favorite stats for this game. I won't go and say it because I don't want to take up too much time, but just pause and have a look if you're a stats guy like me, if you love stats. These are my favorite ones that I picked, but there's so many others online. You can do some research and find way more stats for this game, but these ones are my favorite. Now, looking at where the Warriors are, they are currently 6 on the table. With this win here, they could go to 4th, most likely will, and they're going to be in a very good position. Now, the Warriors are a very balanced team. I really like this year how they've come out. They're obviously happier and healthier considering all the stuff that they went through with COVID and all the relocating and whatnot. So this team is looking very healthy, very happy. Sean Johnson is in a mood. DWZ is in a mood. They've got strike power everywhere. And they're also defending. The forwards aren't having as much issues and errors as they used to have in the past. So I'm really liking this Warriors side. Now for the Dragons, like I said, they're coming off a win. They've got a bunch of talent. Lomax is, since his stint in the cup and being dropped, he's come back with a vengeance. He's done pretty well, in my opinion. They've got an interim coach and a new coach coming. So the whole organization is moving forward and trying to change because it's been a very tough season. So we just have to talk about where they're at right now. Now, let's get into the tips. This is how I'm seeing this game going. So just like last week, the tips should be on the screen. I've got a double up, a triple up, and a quadruple up. This is just how I see the game going at the end of the day. I feel like the Warriors are just going to be too strong. I can't bet against them right now. They're in form. They're very balanced. They're clicking into gear. There's no major injuries. Yes, it's an away game, but look at what they did to Canberra in their away game. The second half, they came out and they just blitzed them. And I really like what I saw. I can't bet on the Dragons to win this game head to head. I don't recommend it, and I just don't see it happening. If you're into the stats and history, as you guys saw, it actually would favor the Dragons. However, for me and what I'm taking, I just can't see the Warriors losing this game. So I've added them in. I've added in both teams to score 10 points here. I think both teams can attack and both teams can get at least 2 or 3 plus converted tries. The Warriors are very good and balanced, like I said. However, their defense has some issues and some liabilities sometimes, so I'm worried about them. I think they'll leak in some points. I think with Dragons being at home in front of their fans and majority of the Dragons players wanting to get up for Ben Hunt and have a good game for him, I think they'll easily score over 10 points. And Lomax has been very, very good with his kicks as well. So that's why I like that market. Now, for try scorers, like I said, DWZ is looking so good. He's in beast mode. He's one of the top wingers right now in the league. His finishing abilities, his speed, his jumping. I think he's going to be either matched up with Guy for the Dragons, and I think that's an easy matchup for DWZ. So at the end of the day, I'm not worried about the matchup. I think if he gets a line break or if he gets into open space, he can just absolutely score tries for fun. Lately, he's just been on a tear. I want to ride that wave. I'm really liking him to score here. I'm confident in him, and I'm going to back him as well. I've gone with the Ravalawa and Montoya play A or play B market option, taking advantage of this market right now. I think Ravalawa is carrying this in a sense where he's the most likely one to go over. I really like him and how he's been good for the Dragons. The stats back him up as well, as we saw. Now, if there is a Warriors blowout, I think Montoya is going to carry this. That's why I wanted to split it up. Now, if one of you guys wanted to split them up as any times each, I wouldn't really argue against it. But at the end of the day, there is a chance that this game is a blowout for the Warriors or it's a low defensive game. So that's why there's always that risk. I just like to pair them up, and that's how I see it going. Now, the quadruple up is a combination of everything. There's not many other markets that I wanted to put out there for this game. These are my favorites. These are what I'm sticking to. I don't want to overdo it. At the end of the day, I care just as much about the slips than anything else because I just want to be able to upload and hit consistently for you guys. I think there's way more value in the Saturday games and the Sunday games. So let's take advantage of all the other sport that we have on. So that's why I've just got the 3 tips for you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your comments down below. Send me a DM. And that's what I'm riding with. And that's how I see this game going. Let's look at game number 2. So we've got game number 2. We've got the Panthers versus the Knights. Now, this is going to be an interesting game. Just to remind your memory, and this is the first thing that I thought of. The Panthers beat the Knights at home in round 7 by 1 point. Nathan Cleary was there. It was clutch. That was a really good game. And the Newcastle Knights had that game at 1 point. Now, that is going to give them a lot of confidence coming here. But the other thing that I thought of first was Panthers lost last week to the Cowboys. How often do we see the Panthers losing back-to-back games? And Panthers are at home. And to make it worse for the Knights fans, all their players are coming back from Origin. So Crichton, Brian To'o, Luai, they're all expected and named to play. There's always that chance that they won't, but at the time of me filming this video, they're listed. So that's always dangerous as well. So I should have started off by saying Penrith are playing at home in Bluebet Stadium in Penrith. The weather's also looking good. It's going to be dry. I'm not expecting any rain for that game. If there is rain, that's a major concern because Penrith fans will tell you this firsthand that they don't play well in the rain. But as far as the home advantage goes, Penrith, Storm, Roosters, usually the Sharks, these are teams that actually have a home advantage. So that's why I really like Penrith here. They're really hard to beat at Bluebet, and they're hard to beat in general. I want you to think about, in a sense, of how annoyed the Penrith boys are going to want to be coming into this game. After losing Origin, there's always that motivation there. They want to bounce back. They also want to reclaim the top spot on the ladder. Now, I have to remind everyone, they're still the number 1 defensive team in the comp. If you've been following my NRL tips, you know how much I rave on about Penrith's defense. In any sport, I love my NBA, I love my AFL. Every sport, defense wins championships at the end of the day. Penrith have it. They're the number 1 ranked. They rarely let in over 3 converted tries. They lost to the Cowboys, and Cowboys scored 20 plus points. But that was a game that we all saw that was kind of messy and a lot of key players out. So I just want to remind everybody of that. That was the first thing that I thought of. Now, let's look at some stats. So once again, stats should be on the screen. I'm not going to say them because I don't want to waste too much time. But if you like them, pause the video, have a look. For me personally, they're all based around what I'm liking. Now, the biggest stat for me is Brian To'o and how hot he's been against the Knights. He's got like a personal vendetta against them apparently. He's scored in 5 games against them in his last 5 games. So that's super impressive. Now, It's not going to be a high scoring game in my opinion. It's very hard for me to make an argument that the over is going to hit. The way that Newcastle have been losing and the way that they've been playing, Penrith right now are just, they're controlling the games and the tempo. I don't think they'll leak many points, but I also don't think they'll score that many points because they're still missing players like Cleary at the end of the day. So that's why I think it's going to be an under. Once again, the tips are coming, but they're not overly betting on overs and multiple try scorers. That's not how I see this game going. The Knights are going to want some revenge. I think if they are going to win, if I'm trying to find reasons for them to win this game, you know, players like Frizzell, Saifidi, they're going to have to really step up at the end of the day. Ponga's been consistent. Dom Young is great attacking. Marzu's back on the other wing. He's a beast. But every single player for the Knights is going to have to step up, and all the Penrith players are going to have a bad game. It's unlikely, but that's how the Knights can win this game. And they want revenge at the end of the day. They lost by 1 point. It was a very famous game, round 7. So they haven't forgotten about that. Now, let's talk about the tips. So the tips should be on screen. Like I said, guys, this is how I see the game going. Whenever it's an under defensive type of game, it's very hard to put exciting, cool tips out there. At the end of the day, I like a triple up. I like a double up. There's some value there because I do really like To'o to score, and I really think Penrith, like I said, will control the game. So I have to respect the #1 defensive team in the comp at the end of the day. I can't see it going over 50 points this game. I think even 40 points is probably safe. That's where the line is at, I believe, as well. I'm predicting a 10 to 22 type of score line here. And I'm not predicting the Knights to score many points. However, I do think they'll get at least one converted try. Most likely in the first half, one each, maybe in the second half. I don't think they'll come out and, like I said, score over 20 points. At the end of the day, we need the line that I've given them, the pick your own line, is 20 points. So I think with Penrith winning, it's not going to be a blowout. Now, they are capable of blowing a team out. They are capable of putting 40 points on any team at any time. And if anything, this is probably the riskiest leg of them all. But I just don't see it happening. I think with all the little arguments I made about the Knights and revenge and whatnot, I think they can compete. I think they can try to keep it close. And 19 points is a huge handicap for the Knights just to cover. So that's why I like that. We already spoke about To'o. You know, I don't have to explain much about him. I really like his position, his matchup. He's going to be matched up against Marzu, which is a similar body, similar size. But the fact that To'o scored in his last 5 games against Newcastle, and when he scored when they last met as well in the first half in that round 7 game, just makes me like him even more. Now, I considered Dom Young and Crichton. I didn't include them, as you can see by the tips. But at the end of the day, if you do want some more value, or if you do want some other try scorers, Stephen Crichton, Dom Young, obviously for obvious reasons. Those 2 guys I really considered, and I really like them. But I have to stick with the story. I'm seeing an under type of game. I wouldn't be surprised if the points are in the teens, and I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle only get a try or 2, like I said. So with all that in mind, that's why I'm just putting these tips out there. And once again, I'm hoping to sweep this one. Hopefully it's an under type of game as I predict. And yeah, that's how I see this game going. Now, let's move on to the third and the last game for Super Saturday. We're looking at the Storm versus the Manly game. Now, this is at Amy Park. So Storm take on Manly at Amy at home in Melbourne. It's going to be a bit cloudy, but 12 degrees in Melbourne. Not wet weather footy, which is great. So we can expect some dry park, which will be good. First thing I thought of straight away, Turbo's out. Game 2 Origin, we all saw what he did with his pec. You know, really bad signs for Manly. Last week, they didn't have DCE or him, and I spoke about just how much those 2 players impact this whole Manly side. And just to remind everyone, you know, they only scored 4 points last week. Now, DCE is back, so we'll talk a bit about that more. But that was the first thing that came to my mind, was Turbo being out. Munster, Hughes and Grant are all named to play, and the big in is Olam. I'll talk about him as well in this tip, but I really like him as a massive in. Storm's amazing home record is another thing that we have to talk about. They're just one of those teams, just like the Penrith Panthers. I was just talking about them. When they're at home, they just play better. I don't know if it's the atmosphere, the home advantage, the fact that they don't have to travel, the fact that other teams have to travel to them in Melbourne. All those factors make them just a better home side, and Melbourne are a better home side. So that's another reason why I really like them here. Manly scoring only 4 points last week. Like I said, massive red flag for me as well. Now, let's look at some stats. So have a look at the stats on the screen, guys. These are my favorite stats that I picked. Like I said, there's so many amazing content NRL creators out there that have stats, and you can Google it and do your own research, but these are my favorite stats for this game. So have a read, have a look. they are favoring Justin Olam, and they are kind of favoring obviously the Storm at home. Manly have won their last 2 games against the Storm, so that's interesting as well. Now, let's talk about the tips, and let's talk about what's going on for this week between these two sides. So hopefully the tips are on the screen. Check them out. Let me know your thoughts. This is how I see this game going. Bit more value here. We've got a bit more of an exciting one. If you know my style, you know these types of odds for the big one, the big final bet that I'm doing is usually not my type of style. However, it's just how I see the game going. So it's a bit of a fun one. Now, looking at the legs, let's have a look at why I like these. I can't back Manly, like I said, you know, without Turbo and just them purely relying on DCE. I think he's going to help contribute to help get them more points, obviously, than last game. However, it's not enough for me to say, oh, they'll upset Melbourne at home. Munster, Grant Hughes, all playing. You know, these guys are all key. Nick Meaney's been on an absolute another level. There's so many weapons, and Warbrick as well. So, yeah, can't back Manly here. Sorry, Manly fans. I'm taking the Storm and with the line. The Olam matchup at the centre is really worrying for me if you're a Manly fan, because from what I'm read and from what I'm seeing, it's going to be Ruben Garrick, which is his matchup. Now, when you think of a centre, you think of a player like Sivo, who's just a true winger. A true centre for me is Justin Olam. He's an absolute beast. I can't imagine him in any other position. He's experienced there. He's got stats and the history to back him. So that's why I really like Olam. Now, if it is Garrick, then that's good as far as try scoring goes, because I can just see a fend and I can just see Olam powering through and scoring. So I really like him. Now, if it is a switch up with Cooler, if Manly do a switch up, I think it's the same argument, similar story. Olam's got the size, he's got the power, he's back from a break as well. I really like him. Now, Warbrick and Saab are matched up against, Saab is matched up against Warbrick from what I've read. However, this might change. Warbrick is just in too good of a form right now for me to ignore. Now, obviously, Coates is exciting, and obviously, if you want to take Coates instead on the other wing, I would have no arguments against it. However, Warbrick stood out to me. Now, he scored 4 tries last game, so his confidence will be through the roof. The stats back him, and I've just got a good feeling about him here. I think Saab has some defensive issues and some misreads. I think Warbrick can take advantage of that. I think Hughes will set him up. I think he'll go over, so that's why I like him as well. Now, I like the over 12.5 points, first half points for the Storm. Now, let's talk about it. I did some research, and I was looking for another flip to add to this game because, you know, the other tips have kind of just been very safe and kind of low odds. So I looked for something exciting, and this one's very simple. Over 12.5 points, we need over 2.5 converted tries. So basically, converted tries, 6 points. Nick Meaney has been slotting them. He's been matching pretty much all his tries with his kicks. I don't know his exact percentage, but he's really consistent lately, and I really like him on the boot. I think they can score 3 or 4 tries in the first half. Now, most importantly, what made me even more confident is in their loss to the Cowboys, which was a pretty famous loss, they still covered this in the first half. So they'll come out strong. They'll come out aggressive. They want to set the tone for the game. If they're going to win by a lot, which most people believe so, and I believe they'll win, you have to start off strong. And in the first half, that's how you do it. So at the end of the day, I really like this. It's nice and clean. It's in the big whale, but it's also just a flip that I'm putting a few units on. I think it can get up because of Meaney, and I think the stats back me because they've hit this in their last 4 games. So I went back and looked at the Storm's last 4 games, and they've covered this in the first half. So I really like it. I'm a big fan. Now, there's going to be more information and stats and whatnot on my Instagram, so please subscribe, follow my Instagram, join my Telegram group, follow my TikTok page. On Instagram, I love to have the write-ups. TikTok's fun for comments and the whole community and engaging with you guys. And Telegram group, I just love all you guys in there. I talk so freely in there. Everything's free. All my tips, all the research that I put in, it's all for free. I want to get some sweeps this weekend. We've got the AFL on. We've got the NRL. So I think it's going to be a good weekend. We can bounce back from the origin. So thank you, everyone. Just want to wrap up. Thank you so much. Please let me know what you think of the tips. Comment, send me a DM. You know, you guys know who you are. We'll cook up some more multis if you want some more options. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please, guys, I'm sticking to YouTube. I think I'll be here throughout the end of the rest of the NRL season. So please subscribe to this channel if you want my NRL tips first and show some love. Good luck, guys. Let's get them tips. Cheers.